March 13th. Today was one of the worst days. The man's body laid there lifeless right outside the front door. We couldn't tell who put the body there, or just how long the man had been dead. His face was hanging in flaps. The stench was something awful. By this time, rigor mortis had set in and his skin had turned a deep purple. His eyes already plucked out by vultures. After we brought the body inside, I don't know whose idea it was to dump it inside the wood chipper. But this caused a massive mess that took several of us hours to clean up. Afterwards, I went to the bathroom to wash myself up. As I was washing my hands, I looked up in the mirror and saw him standing right there behind me. But as soon as I turned around, he was gone. This is the creepiest shit I've seen here so far. I walked to the door to get the hell out of there, and I couldn't believe it. Someone had actually taken that man's blood and wrote, "Where's your God now?" right on the fucking door. Wait, hold up. Let me start over. My name is Dylan, and I work in a factory in the middle of nowhere. Why would I stay in such a horrible place? Easy question. I don't really have a choice. My town only consists of 3 things: meth, cornfields, and the factory. During the daytime, it's just a plain old ordinary place where normal people come in, put in their 9 to 5, make their money, and go home. But during the nighttime, creepy things happen at nighttime. One night, my friend Darren went outside for a smoke break and saw a little girl standing in the field across from the parking lot. She looked at him and cried, "Help me! Help me!" Now Darren, being the good Samaritan he is, started to walk over. But the closer he got, the girl started changing. She grew in size. She was losing all physical traits of a human being, but continued to cry, "Help me! Help me!" This little girl had now completely turned into just a gigantic white light, at least 15 feet tall. Now, Darren was in the army, and he had been to war a few times actually, so he had seen some shit before, and he always had a gun on him. He pulled his gun out and began shooting at it, but nothing happened. All he saw was this gigantic white light coming straight for him. He turned around and ran as fast as he could, just barely making it back inside in time. Ever since then, everyone's been allowed to smoke inside, and no one goes out at night by themselves. It's the rule. A big part of my job is being in charge of keeping everything together, and there's things that even I can't explain. First and foremost, who put a rotting corpse directly in front of the fucking main door? And why is there a clown that hangs out all night in the parking lot and stares directly into the windows? Now, whenever anyone is looking at him, he always laughs his ass off and starts making stupid jokes that only he can understand. But when we're inside minding our own business, he'll stand perfectly still and just stare through the window. He won't move a muscle. Almost like a statue. Don't get me wrong, I'm willing to call the police. I've actually called the police so many times that I don't even have to introduce myself anymore, or state my location. As soon as I call them and state whatever catastrophic emergency we have, Sheriff Bacon is on his way immediately to sick the dog on him, in his own words. The sheriff had a canine unit, German Shepherd. He had raised this dog ever since he was a puppy, trained him, adopted him. Needless to say, the dog was the man's best friend. But that was his answer to everything. I once called Sheriff Bacon when we had vampire bats flying around in the rafters. His solution was to sick the dog on him. Needless to say, the dog couldn't jump that high and wasn't able to do shit in this situation. I feel like the only normal person who works here is my buddy Tristan. He's my right hand, my go-to. Him and I are always working together to try to make sense out of all the crazy shit that happens here. He's smart. He's worked here almost ever since the factory was built. And he's every bit as curious about the mystery of this place as I am. I wanted to start this journal for a few reasons. One, to help keep me sane. Perhaps if I write down everything, connect a few dots here or there, I don't know, maybe I'll have a better idea of what goes on in this place. And two, just so that if the factory, or whatever's inside of it, does end up killing me, I don't know, maybe it can help whoever finds this journal. So, to whom it may concern, welcome to my fucking life. April 20th. Today was catered lunch day. That's the nicest thing they've done for us in a while. Well, at least they tried to do something nice for us. You know how these things turn out. They brought us into the cafeteria where chefs and caterers from a restaurant cooked and served us lunch. I sat at a table with Tristan while Darren and our buddy Coop sat at the table next to us. That was one of those new restaurants, right? And it was really cool because all the servers dressed up in Halloween costumes. One woman was a pirate. The other was a nurse. Thank God none of them dressed as a clown. Even the chef was dressed up. He had a full scarecrow costume, mask and all. There was one woman sitting off in a corner by herself, dressed as a witch. Black gown, black hat. Now, whatever image you have in your head here, it's wrong. She wasn't the standard gothic witch. This girl, this goddess, looked like Barbie morphed into Wednesday Addams. She even had heavy black eyeshadow with white hearts drawn around both of her eyes. Needless to say, I was love-struck. And just in case you're wondering, I totally would. I tried my best not to stare at her. I failed. She knew I was staring at her, and without saying a word, she slowly walked over to me and handed me a letter. I tried to make conversation with her, but she never spoke a word. She just handed me this letter and then walked off. That slow walk. I read the letter. I will blow you away. I will light a fire in you. I'll let you go down under me. And afterwards, we will stand together as one. No matter what happens, I will always be here for you. I handed the letter over to Tristan and did my best to whisper, "Holy shit!" He read it, and his eyes widened. He said, "Dude, this doesn't seem right." "What are you talking about?" I asked. He replied with, "Something tells me this isn't a love letter. I think she's trying to threaten you." I laughed. "Bro, she wants to threaten me like this? She can threaten me all she wants." And then we heard screams from the kitchen. Someone in the kitchen had got bitten by a snake. A snake? Yes, the chef. The fucking scarecrow actually brought a Burmese python with him. And it had now bitten one of our coworkers. Hissing around, it coiled its body around the neck, suffocating him. Someone ran in to help, and the scarecrow took the knife and drove it straight into their gut and began twisting it. Now, on a large cooking sheet, next to the boiling water, there were hearts, lungs, livers. This fucking scarecrow was actually cooking human organs and fed them to everyone. Most of us ran the hell out of there, puking, screaming, crying. While Darren ran into the kitchen, did a fucking somersault, pulled out his gun, and blew the scarecrow's head off. "Never bring a knife to a gunfight," he said, trying his best to sound like Leon Kennedy. Coop laughed and added, "Yeah, never bring a knife to a gunfight, and never bring your mom to my house." May 4th. I was late to work today. I hate showing up late. By the time I had arrived, the sun had already gone down. Now that concerned me because I know if it's dark outside, that clown is going to be in the parking lot somewhere. I got out of my car and made a straight beeline for the door to the inside of the factory. I was jogging towards that door. I didn't want to waste any time. I made it just in time because right as my hand touched the door handle, I saw the clown. He was standing there looking directly at me, and he began laughing. "You're a dick! And Tristan is a dick! I'm gonna call you boys two dicks at the same time!" I did my best to ignore him and just walked inside. I found Tristan and Coop working at one of the tables. Coop had been working with us for about a month now. And compared to some of the shady characters that we had to work with, it really wasn't all that bad. A bit of a jokester, but one of the nicer people there, really. I apologized about showing up late, and all he said was, "Hey, I was almost late today, too. I had to give your mom the old hucklebuck." "The what?" I asked. He chuckled and said, "Oh, you know, that's when you got one leg propped up on something and you're just standing there on one leg giving her the old hucklebuck." He laughed and added, "You know I'm just playing, buddy. No big deal. I'm just glad you're here. You guys are like family. I'd hate to see anything bad happen to you." And then after that, an announcement came across the PA system. "Attention all employees. Due to environment, health, and safety concerns, smoking and any other form of tobacco use is now prohibited inside or outside of the building." Tristan and I could barely even hear the announcement, so we just looked at each other and shrugged our shoulders. Coop casually walked off for a minute. Tristan and I went back to working, and then we heard a loud, rattling, bone-chilling sound. "What the fuck is that?" I asked. "It sounded like someone's using a chainsaw," Tristan replied. Off in the distance, we hear Coop scream, "I need my fucking cigarettes!" Oh shit. We immediately hid under the table. I pulled out my phone and called Sheriff Bacon. Off in the distance, I could see Coop. He decapitated one of our coworkers with that fucking chainsaw. One quick sweep, and it took the other man's head right off. His head hit the ground at an angle and rolled a few feet like a bowling ball. He was on a complete rampage, storming, ready to kill anyone in his path. I felt he was looking for us as soon as he yelled, "Where are you, you chicken shit motherfuckers?" Now, since he couldn't find us, he began sawing everything in his sight. Thank God Sheriff Bacon showed up right away. "Sir, drop the weapon or I'll shoot," Sheriff Bacon ordered. Coop turned and saw the cop, and in the most grimacing tone possible, threatened, little pig, give me my cigs," and began charging at him with the chainsaw. The sheriff had no choice. He shot Coop dead then and there. As the ambulance took Coop's body away, the sheriff started talking to us, trying to calm us down. "The next time that happens, you boys ought to hide in the emergency weather basement," he suggested. "It's always locked. Even has chains around it for some reason. I've never actually been down there," I told him. And the truth is, I really haven't been. Neither has Tristan. I have no idea what's down there. And with the way this factory is, I don't want to open that door. I'm afraid if I open that door, it's going to be some hidden passageway or something. Trapped forever. It could even be a secret portal to hell for all I know. With this place, I can't trust anything. He was just about to leave when he opened his car door and said his classic catchphrase. "He's lucky I didn't sick the dog on him." At that moment, the policeman's dog hopped out of the car and pounced directly onto him. As the sheriff sat up to hug him, his own dog bit him directly in the throat. He began tearing the sheriff apart. That same dog the policeman had loved and trained ever since he was just a little pup had snapped and was drinking the blood still pumping out of the sheriff's loving heart. Tristan and I walked to the break room in silence. We had seen unbelievable things here at the factory before, but this was heartbreaking. After almost an hour of silence had passed, eventually Tristan spoke. "You ever solve a Rubik's Cube?" he asked. And in my head, I'm thinking, what the hell's that got to do with anything? But I'm not in the mood to be a jerk, so I just tell him no. He followed up with, "Well, it seems complicated at first, but once you figure out the right algorithms, it becomes easy to solve. I think solving the mystery of this place could be the same way." I tried to think of the right response and ended up telling him, "This is way more serious than a Rubik's Cube. There's something going on here, something that haunts this place, possesses people, and has powers that none of us can understand. It's evil. No algorithm can solve that." I got up and left. I went to my car to go home. I had had enough for the day. And in my rearview mirror, I could see that clown again. He knew I could see him. And looking at me, he said, "All I see is an empty parking lot. I was told there'd be hookers and coke." I drove off. Seriously, what the fuck is wrong with this place? May 19th. You have brought this upon yourself, I heard a voice say. I opened my eyes, and I wasn't at the factory. I wasn't home. I don't know where I was. I had to have been somewhere underground. I'm hanging upside down, a few feet in the air. It was a very large place. Brick walls lit up by torches. Old rusty cages with chains hanging from the ceiling. On the dirt floor beneath me, I could see a pile of skeleton heads. Human bones. And fucking tarantulas. Big hairy ones. Crawling right underneath me. At least 5 or 6 of them. Who knows how many there were altogether. This had to have been some sort of torture chamber. I could hear footsteps approaching. It was the fucking clown. Again. He must have put me here. He must have tied me upside down in this dungeon. Grabbing one of the torches off the wall, he walked up to me and spoke. Not in his normal voice. His voice was much deeper now. And there was no laughter. Thanks to the burning torch he was holding, I could see his black eyes crystal clear. And he warned me. Do you see what you've done? The way you've lived your life? I've been watching you ever since the day you were born. And I'll be there the day you die. The hell you were threatened with as a child is no longer an option. It is a reality. He stepped aside, and what was standing behind him I couldn't believe. Embedded into that brick wall was a gravestone. And the gravestone read, "Here lies Dylan from the factory." The clown stepped forward, and in one take, blew out the fire from the torch. I shut my eyes hard. When I opened them, I was home. In my bed. Was it all a dream? Did it really happen? Was it a warning? Or a glance into my future? June 5th. Luke and his wife Amanda were good friends of mine. Luke was funny as hell. We had a few things in common, so we get along great. Amanda, on the other hand, was this short little girl, only weighed about 99 pounds, covered head to toe in tattoos, but she was fucking gorgeous. Excuse me for a minute. Gorgeous! Okay. Back to the story. Tristan and I were off working on a table when Luke showed up. Only problem is, Luke and Amanda both worked first shift. Are they making you work overtime? I asked him. No, he replied. I'm hiding from the wife. I thought you said she was sick, I asked. Luke sighed. She was sick. She got better pretty quickly, though. Now she's just really pissed off. She really just hasn't been herself ever since she got bitten by that bat. By what? I freaked. Yeah, dude. Craziest thing happened last week. We were just working as always, and a fucking bat flew down from the rafters and bit her. Luke, what did I tell you on the phone a while back? You said, liquor before beer, you're in the clear. Beer before liquor, never been sicker. I paused. Luke, that was a vampire bat. I saw them in the rafters a while ago. I called the cops about it and everything. Luke chuckled. You kill me, Dylan. We all know vampires ain't real. And then we hear crash! Now, ever since the day that deer walked into the factory and started running amok all over the place, we keep the garage door closed. But even though the garage door was closed, this crazy bitch drove her Cadillac straight into the factory, breaking the door down. She hopped out and ran at the first person she saw. Tackling him, she bit directly into his neck and started sucking the blood straight out of his body. She looked at us. Her eyes had turned yellow, and blood was dripping from her fangs where her normal teeth used to be. She started walking towards us as we backed up. Smiling, she flew up into the rafters. She hung upside down and stared at us, laughing at us. We all bolted the hell out of there as quickly as possible. Now, you see and hear all the stereotypes about the hot vampire girl, but it's not until you're face to face with one that you realize it's not all it's cracked up to be. They're just as deadly as the rest of them. And this little undead beauty queen will kill you and turn you into a creature of the night without a second thought. I got in my car and hauled ass out of there. As soon as I pulled into my driveway and felt safe enough, I pulled out my phone and called Luke. What the fuck was that, bro? She went straight Nosferatu on his ass. I could tell by his voice he was still a little spooked, but he chuckled and said, Yeah, bro. What do you think I married her? I'm into that kinky shit. June 21st. Today was new hire day. The day for all the new employees to show up. Usually I don't put forth that much effort here. I don't even acknowledge new people unless they walk up to me and start talking. I'm not trying to be stuck up or anything, but with the way this factory is, I can't always trust that everyone I see is even a real person or not. Most new people roll in here, show up for only one day, and end up quitting. Or they die somewhere within their first few weeks. I'll never forget last year. This kid showed up for his first day. It was probably his first job. He couldn't have been a day over 19. But he introduced himself to the group very nervously. Hi everyone. My name is T. But my friends call me T-Rash. The trash with a rash. But, the ladies like to call me, Hey You in the Bushes. Jesus Christ, I can already tell this kid's not gonna make it. I escorted T-Rash around the building and specifically warned him, stay away from that barrel. There's deadly toxins in that barrel. A moment later, I hear Tristan yell, Help! Help me! Dylan! Somebody help me! I ran over and saw Tristan's face. He had been buried under a large pile of sawdust. He saw me running up to him and asked, Is that the fastest you've ever came for another man? I paused and asked, What the fish stick fuck is wrong with you? I'm buried alive, he said. It was my fault. I was in a hurry. I hit the wrong button. Can you help me? I helped Mr. Rubik's Cube unbury himself and went back to find T-Rash. He was on all fours next to the barrel. I saw him puking out blood. But before I could do anything about it, he was dead. He had dranken from the barrel. It's as if this place was so bad he decided to commit suicide as soon as he walked in. Hopefully today will be better. So, it's a cartoon about an evil cat named Lucifer? Tristan said to me. I wasn't really listening, but I figured I'd let him ramble. He can talk and everything, but he only talks to his owner, so nobody realizes that... Oh. Shit. He couldn't even finish his own sentence. When I put my head up to see what he was looking at, I realized he was staring at something behind me. I turned, and I saw her walking up. Blonde hair, beautiful brown eyes, $1 million smile, and a picture of a rabbit on her t-shirt. Hi, she said. I'm Alice. I'm new here. I was told you're supposed to be the one to train me on my first day. I stood there in disbelief. Never have I seen anyone show up here and be so cheerful. She seemed so innocent. I tried to think of the right words to use without looking too much like a geek. Yeah. Come with me and I'll give you a tour and we can go through your paperwork together, I said, leading her to the office. She followed me, but she wasn't walking. She was skipping. I like coffee and dogs. I'm Alice, she said. I chuckled a bit. And she was cute as hell, but she clearly had a good personality, too. Do you have your new employee file? I asked her as we walked into the office. She tilted her head to the side and said, I sure do. Here's my file. I'm Alice. I took the paper from her and looked at it, but it wasn't a new employee file. It was a drawing detailing how to properly dismember a human body. And underneath the drawing were the words, "You're fucked." I looked back at Alice, who was now levitating in the air. Those pretty brown eyes of hers were completely glazed over as she yelled, "You fool! You never should have come here! You're a part of his game now! He will tear your soul apart!" With that, Alice flew out the window off into the night sky. I stood there in complete shock for what could have been 10 seconds or 10 minutes. I left the office and went back to where Tristan was. "How'd it go?" he asked. I completely unloaded on him. "Oh, same old ordinary shit. Why can't we hire anyone who is normal? I am done with new hires, bro. I don't care who else shows up today or what they have to say. I am not training anyone." And then a god-awful smell attacked my nose. I turned and saw the homeless man staring at me, looking me dead in the eyes, as if he were looking in a mirror. I stared back at him. He seemed so familiar, as if I had known him in a past life. And then he spoke. "How you doing, partner? Name's Filthy." Take it you're new here?" I replied. "Yeah, I'm a drifter. Just rolled into town. Figure this might be the place to make a few extra bucks. That good grass ain't cheap. Now, I can't settle for that weak stuff. Back in my day, we used to smoke the good shit. Know what I mean?" he said. I just stood there looking at him. Before I could even respond, he added, "Look, man, you got some place I could shower around here? I've been living under a bridge the last 10 years. Couldn't find a good place to shower. Hell, I couldn't even find a good bathroom. I've been wiping my ass with fast food napkins. They say you ain't supposed to do that, but I wipe forward anyway, so I don't think it matters." Usually I would never go this far out of my way, but this guy stank to high heaven and clearly needed help. Now. I took him to the emergency eye wash station. It wasn't exactly a shower, but it was better than nothing. He closed the door and turned the water on, but as it came down on him, something went wrong. It wasn't water. It was some form of acid, burning his skin on contact. He immediately tried to open the door to get out, but it was locked. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't open the door. And we weren't able to help him, or even stop the acid from pouring down on him. He screamed out in pain and pleaded for help. But there's nothing that anyone could do. I watched the man die, the acid burning all of his skin off. All we had left of him were his work bag. A bag filled with marijuana, a dead fish, and a pile of fast food napkins. Rest in peace, Filthy. We hardly knew you. July 3rd. Today was a plant-wide shutdown. Everyone had the day off. I saw this as the perfect opportunity to really scope the place out. Maybe if I went in there alone, just me, I might find something out. I probably wasn't as scared as I should have been. I had the attitude of, hey, whatever's in this place, it hasn't killed me yet. So I drove there around midnight. The parking lot was completely empty. My car was the only one in sight. A moment after I walked in the doors, the lights turned on. We didn't have motion-censored lights. It was all done by switches, which told me one thing. The factory, it knows I'm here. The more I walked, the lights started flickering. Does it know I'm alone? This place is playing mind games with me. Good morning, sir, I heard a voice from behind me. I immediately turned and saw T. T-Rash. What the fuck? I said in disbelief. He stared at me. It's my first day. I was told you were going to be the one to train me. No. You're not real, I said. You're dead. I saw you. He continued staring at me. It's my first day. My name is T, but you guys call me T-Rash. My instincts kicked in and I threw a punch at his face. He immediately stepped over to the side, dodging it. And in my ear he whispered, Stay away from that barrel. There's deadly toxins in that barrel, he said as he faded away. A moment later, I heard the wood chipper turn on. I thought I was the only one here. Did someone forget to turn that thing off? I started walking towards that area, and standing by the wood chipper was the man. The one from the beginning. His skin was still that deep purple. Flaps of skin hanging from his face, disfigured. His eyes were still missing. But I knew he saw me because he waved. I ran. I ran like I have never ran in my life. But it didn't matter. The aisleway in front of me kept growing. Almost like I was running in place. Making no progress as the walls to my side slowly started caving in on me. I could hear the cries of a little girl. "Help me! Help me!" It had to have been the same one from Darren's story. The more I ran, the louder the cries got. "Help me! Help me!" There was no doubt in my mind this place was trying to swallow me whole. At that moment, I had a hand tug onto the back of my neck. But it wasn't choking me. It was pulling me upward, away from this horrible place. The next thing I knew, I was standing in a dark alley surrounded by fog. The fog was so thick I couldn't even tell where I was, but I knew I wasn't in the factory anymore. I felt so lightheaded, I fell to my knees and started puking violently. Once I had gathered myself together, the fog had cleared up just enough for me to tell. This was the alleyway behind my house. I was home. Somehow, I had survived. My phone went off. One new message from a private number. The message simply read, "God loves you." July 23rd. I drove to work during a windstorm today. The news advised everyone not to travel anywhere if not in the case of an emergency. But I already showed up late. I really don't want to miss work. Honestly, the drive there was way worse than I imagined. I saw multiple cars stuck over on the side of the road, just waiting for the wind to die down. I barely even made it in myself. More than likely, the power will get shut off and they'll send us home early. Shortly after I got there, an announcement came over the PA system. "Attention all employees. Due to the severe weather, the building is now on lockdown and will remain under lockdown until the weather clears up." Great. Just fucking great. We're trapped here. I walked over to the garage door to get a view from the outside. There was a whole team of people all crowded around, looking out of the windows, trying to see what was going on. It was hard to see. The wind was moving so fast. A full-size tree had been yanked out of the ground, right from the root. There were cars parked outside and were getting flipped over and flying away from the wind. "Hey! That's my car!" Someone yelled behind me. One of the older women we worked with was hiding crouched down in a corner, rocking back and forth, muttering to herself, "Our Father who art in heaven, our Father who art in heaven, our Father who art in heaven." At this point, we had lost power. Great. Now we can't even see anything. Complete darkness. I looked back outside, and I saw fire. Not a small fire. The whole damn field outside the parking lot was engulfed. And I realized this is no longer a windstorm. It's a fire tornado, and it's heading straight towards us. The building began collapsing. Fire had surrounded us at this point. My coworkers, people I had known and worked with for years, all scrambled, screaming, burning, panicking. I could smell the flesh in the air. My God, this is it. This is how I'm going to die. I rushed for the door to the emergency basement. We all did. But not all of us made it. It all happened so fast. A place I had come to every day for years was now burning down and collapsing, while me and everyone else were trapped inside. The smoke was so heavy I could barely even breathe or see. When I got to the door, or at least what I thought was the door, someone had already taken the bolt cutters and cut the chains off. It took every ounce of muscle I had in my body to push it open. I fell face first on the floor as soon as it did. But I couldn't get up. I couldn't stand. I could barely breathe. I felt two arms reach out and pull me back on my feet. It was Tristan. But we were in the room from my dream. The dirt floor. The brick walls. Everything. Tristan stood in front of me, pleading, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I dragged you into this." "It's not your fault," I told him. "Yes, it is. It's my building. I've never been down here, but I own the building." "Wait, what the hell are you talking about?" "I don't run the factory, but I own the building. It's always been this way. It's cursed or possessed or something. I could never figure this place out, and I could never do it myself. I needed you here to help me, to make sense of everything. I should have told you. I never told you. I'm so sorry." And then Tristan fainted. The smoke filled the room. The fire tornado was directly on top of us. And it destroyed everything in its path. August 13th. I woke up 3 weeks later in a hospital bed. I couldn't remember anything. They told me fire had completely destroyed the factory. There was nothing left. Tristan and I were the only survivors. I laid there, sorry for all the lives we had lost, but also felt clarity. Clarity in knowing that I'd never have to step foot in that factory again. The factory was gone. It was all over. They let me call Tristan, who explained everything. After its destruction, he learned the factory was built on top of an old torture chamber. The same place we used to take shelter. How I saw it in my dream before I had ever even stepped foot in that place, that's something I'm still trying to figure out. But it made more sense then. All that evil, all those lives lost, all those tainted souls, they haunted the factory from underneath. During the drive home, they said I needed to take it easy. My health isn't what it used to be. But either way, don't worry about work for a while. Just focus on getting my health and sanity back to what it used to be. Or the best it could be now, at least. And as we drove past, I saw the factory. The factory! The fucking factory? It was right there! In perfect condition! But how? It and everything around it were completely destroyed by a flaming tornado just weeks ago. And now, here it is. As if none of it ever happened. But it did! It was on the news and everything. And somehow everyone in the town just pretends none of it ever happened. I am completely lost for words. I pulled out my phone to call Tristan, but for some reason, my phone wasn't in my pocket. I always have my phone in my pocket. Where the fuck is my phone? But somehow, that letter that the girl gave me back in April was. I don't know how it reached into my pocket and where the fuck is my phone, but I read the letter again. I will blow you away. I will light a fire in you. I will let you go down under me. And afterwards, we will stand together as one. No matter what happens, I will always be here for you. Tristan was right. It was a threat. And it had all came true. The factory, somehow, is intact. And something tells me it knows I survived. And it just stands there, waiting on me